Hi guys, I'm Loz, and today I'm going to be running you through a simple bodyweight workout that you can do in your mask. Obviously, we've got some restrictions until the 22nd of January at this point, and you will have to wear your mask in the gym if you are doing exercise. There are some other conditions, terms and conditions, I guess. There should be an asterisk next to that, but this is an exercise regime that you can do in the gym for bodyweight stuff using a mask. So for our warm-up, we are going to start with some stuff to do on the mat. So lying on your back, you'll need a mat, the only piece of equipment you're going to need. And from here, we're going to start with our feet flat on the floor. So this is a lower intensity workout and it's suitable for everybody of all different levels. It is possible to add weights to this if you would like. So starting with our feet on the floor, our knees bent 90 degrees and our feet hip width apart. We're going to have our hands by our side, drawing our shoulders down and back and tucking our chin. From here, we'll take a nice big inhaling breath, and as we exhale, we start to peel our bottom off the floor, moving into some bottom lifts just to warm up the lower body. And inhale down and keep going. So the idea of this exercise is really to focus on the movement, focus on continuing to tuck your chin and drawing your shoulders down and back, and also draw your attention to whether or not your hips are going towards the ceiling at the same speed. So you want to aim for around 10 of these. I do this as a warm-up most of the time with all of my clients here at Snap Fitness Carolee. So really squeezing your bum. You should start to feel this work around the side and back of your bottom. I'm going to do 2 more. I haven't been counting. It's not my job. PTs are terrible at counting. And on the 10th one, we're going to hold our bottom up. And without dropping the bottom, we're going to start opening and closing the knees. Nice and slow and controlled. And the aim is here for another 10. Good. And on your 10th one, bring them back to neutral position and inhale the bottom down. Nice work. So from here, we're going to start to move into some slightly different variants of upper body activation. So the first level is with our feet on the floor and our palms facing towards each other with our fingers glued together and our thumbs sticking out. From here, we take an inhale, and then as we start to exhale, our arms reach overhead, trying not to arch our spine, and then we're going to inhale, bring them back over our face only, and then do that again. This is an arm preparation exercise, and it's also really good for helping to work your proprioception, which is your ability to recognize where your limbs are in space. So as you exhale arms over the head, see if you can get your thumbs to touch the floor at the same time. It is quite challenging. I'm really focusing on not letting that back arch. Now this is level 1. If you would like to make this harder, I want you to pull your spine towards the floor, flattening it into the floor, and then do it with your legs up in the air. This does make it a lot more challenging, and if you can focus on squeezing your knees and ankles together as well, we're going to activate through those legs. Good. Can get quite challenging, so feel free to go back to the previous version of this exercise. I'm just going to do one more here, so you want to aim for around 10 to 15 of these. And when you're done, rest your hands on your legs. Good work. So this next warm-up activity is called wall slides. And for this activity, you are going to need a wall. So this helps to warm up the backs of the shoulders. So with the wall, and I'm going to turn away from you, you're going to come up to the wall as close as you can and start with your hands up nice and high in a V shape, resting your forearms on the wall. So as you can see, my entire body is nice and close and strong. I'm going to take an inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to start to draw those shoulder blades down the spine, and then we're going to inhale, come back, and if you can come nice and close to the wall, it will help to open up your chest as well. So I'm exhaling, sliding shoulders down and back, inhale, reaching back up. So coming towards that V shape at the top. So once again, aiming for around 10 to 15 of these, nice and slow. You probably want a wall that's nice and smooth. This wall here in the group fitness room is ideal because it's smooth. You're not going to get friction burn on your forearms. Good. So we'll just do 2 more here. So from here, we're going to start moving into our standing strength exercises. We're going to start with a body weight squat. So either off the mat or on the mat, with or without shoes, it's up to you. But we want to start with our legs quite wide, and feel free to use a weight if you would like to for this exercise. So I'm going to start with my legs nice and wide for a body weight squat. And ideally, you want to be able to push your feet into the floor to create a little bit of resistance towards the floor, and you want to be able to squeeze your bum. For a body weight squat, we really shouldn't be focused on feeling it in our thighs. It's more of a bottom exercise. So I always like to hold my hands nice and wide. That way I can draw my shoulders down and back. And the other reason I like to squat like this is if I do transition to a bar, it's very easy just to do this because my posture is already habitually like this. If we practice doing body weight squats like this with our hands in front, it can be a little bit harder to start moving into this position. So I'm going to have my arms wide, and taking it inhale, we're going to take our body weight down and back, and exhale, power up through the ground. Good. Inhale, exhale. So it's a nice easy exercise to do with a mask. Focus on inhale down, exhale up, squeezing your bottom down and back. Good. Holding those shoulders nice and strong. So what we want to focus on as we keep going is trying to have a nice flat back. Okay, what we don't want to do is start to arch through our back. It's about having nice long line, between my head and my tailbone. So the crown of my head to the tip of my tailbone. Nice strong posture. Squeezing our bum. And if you have the tendency to have your knees turn in, for example, if you squat like this, it does help to turn your toes out a little bit and focus on tracking your knees over your toes. Good. So we're going to aim for 10 here to 15. And we'll do 1 more. And have a break. So the next exercise we're going to run through is called a split squat. So a split squat is an exercise where we focus on one side and then we shift to the other. And this type of work is really good for picking up asymmetries that you might have in the way that you move with your body. So if you've got a leg that's a little bit weaker, you've got a knee that's a little bit wobbly, these sorts of exercises can really help us find those asymmetries in our body so that the dominant side isn't taking over from the weak side. So for a split squat, I'm going to face sideways for this. I'm going to start with 1 leg forward and 1 leg back. Now what I like to teach people, actually I might do it this way. What I like to show people when I'm demonstrating this exercise is we want to tip that hip under a little bit. We want to make sure that that knee drives straight to the ground. So a split squat, we go straight down and straight back up. This exercise not only stretches the quadricep on the back leg, so this muscle that runs down here, but also starts to strengthen the butt cheek on the leg that's forward. So we always inhale down, exhale up, pushing through the heel on the front leg. So if we do these slowly, guys, I know that masks can feel a little bit suffocating at times. But if we focus on slow, deliberate breathing, slowing our tempo down, it's much easier to concentrate on the exercise without feeling like we're suffocating. So we're trying not to get that knee too far over the toe. That becomes a little bit of a different exercise. Just want to focus on moving up and down, finding balance. So this helps improve your balance as well as becoming a strength-based exercise. So I'm just going to do 1 more here. Once again, aim for around 10 to 15 per side. And then of course we're going to change sides. So setting ourselves up on side number 2, rolling that bum cheek under, so we're stretching out the front of that leg, and then inhale down, exhale back. Good. So if it's getting really odd, you're finding that you're wobbling around a little bit, perhaps your feet are back like this, okay? You can increase your base of support by taking that foot out a little bit wider, trying to make sure that knee comes towards the ground. So ideally, if you were standing with your feet underneath your hips, we're just going to step that foot just straight behind, just to help to give us a little bit more balance. So I'm just going to do 2 more here. Nice work. So for this next exercise, we are going to go back onto the mat, and I like to call this dead bugs. So it really helps working through the stabilizing muscles of the pelvis, as well as helping us focus on our postural awareness. And it's great for working through the side of our abs. So it is a bit of an abdominal exercise, but it helps us to focus on, once again, the asymmetries we have in our body. So we're going to start on the floor, lying on our backs on the mat. And if we can, we're going to pull our spine towards the floor, flattening it towards the floor, and lifting both legs up into this position here. With our hands in the air, so this is very similar to the setup we had before. We're going to take our palms facing each other, glue our fingers together and stick out our thumb if we like. This time though, we're not squeezing our knees and ankles together. We're going to take an inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to pick a leg and extend it out, and at the same time, extend the opposite arm overhead towards the floor. And then inhale, bring it back and change sides. So working across the body diagonally now, strengthening and lengthening, pointing the toes, squeezing the thigh, and trying to keep our back pulled in towards the floor. So alternating here. So you can take that leg lower, but please be mindful of flexing through the back. You don't want to start arching your spine. That's not a very safe way to do the exercise. If this is too hard, you can do this with a bent leg, as long as you maintain 90-degree angle between your ankle, your knee, and your hip. Good, so keep breathing, exhale over the head, inhale back. Otherwise, just do this with a straight leg. Good, continue to try and draw those shoulders down and back, guys, to maintain good posture and focus on that posture now. Are you noticing if one hip kicks out to the side when you extend that leg? Is there a bit of asymmetry there? I'm just going to do 1 more here and then hug the knees in. So as you can see, that was quite a challenging exercise if you've not done that type of work before. And I actually do a lot of this work in my Pilates classes that I hold here at the gym 3 days a week. So if this kind of stuff is really hard, it probably might be worth looking at doing some Pilates classes to really strengthen that core region and focus on balance and postural awareness. So for the next exercise, we're going to be focusing on the side of our bottoms and our pelvic stability. So it's called clams, and we're going to lie down on our side with our long line between our wrist, our elbow, our shoulder, and our hip, bending at the hip and bending at the knees, stacking our knees on top of each other. From here, we're going to focus on lifting through the side of the waist, so we're having a nice neutral posture. And we inhale here before we exhale, open the knee just a little bit, inhale, close, and we just keep going. So the focus of this exercise is the stabilizing muscles of the pelvis, but also the gluteus medius muscle, which is a muscle responsible for helping us open and close our knee. What we don't want to do is reef our knee open. We want to try and keep our hips as stacked as possible. So it's not about opening the knee as far as you can. It's about getting that contraction in the side of your bottom. And you should be able to feel it just in here. Feel that muscle working. So focus on keeping the hips stacked as you do this exercise. Try not to roll your hip back. And it does help if you rest your upper hand in front of the body here. Good. So once again, aiming for 10 to 15, whatever you choose though, we're going to have to do exactly the same number on the other side, because not even Kim Kardashian can make an asymmetrical bum look good these days. So the next exercise we're going to be doing is a press up. So this is working through the chest muscles. It's also working through the stabilizing muscles of the hips and the abdominals. So it is a front body exercise. So a press up is essentially a push up. Our hands are sitting a little bit wider than our shoulders. So if you've got a mat, probably the width of the mat, we're going to come up in a plank position. Okay, so drawing the shoulders down and back, keeping the chin tucked. We take an inhale, come all the way down. And as we exhale, we press up, focusing on keeping those shoulders down and back. So we inhale down, exhale up. Now if that's too hard for you, you can do it on your knees, keeping your bottom through and your spine in a neutral position. Trying to get our chest as close to the ground as we can before we power up on the exhale. And if that's still a little bit challenging for you guys, come into a box position and just let your head, your forehead, come towards the floor in between the hands. Focusing on keeping the spine flat and drawing those shoulders down and back. keeping the neck long by tucking the chin. We don't want to look at our knees. If we're looking at our knees, we're tucking our chin too much. We just want to look straight down at the floor between our hands. So the focus here is pick a level. You can progress or regress, so you can increase the intensity or decrease it. Work at your own level, but I want you to do 10 of these. So once you've done your 10, we're going to have a little tiny break and move into some more standing exercises. We're going to now move into some more lower body work, and this exercise is calf raises. So the idea is you want to get some strengthening and lengthening through the calf. It is ideal to do it on a step, on the edge of a step, but you can do this without the step. So I will demonstrate this on a step. Ideally, you want to have a wall near you for stability. If you are wearing a mask, you might find that you get a little bit more tired than you were without the mask because your breath work is a little bit more laboured. Please honour that. Please don't put yourself in a compromised position because you're trying to exercise really, really hard with a mask on unless you're trained with breath work. So if you are doing it on a step, we want to set ourselves up near a wall and have our toes towards the end of the step. And then all we're going to do is take our heels down towards the floor of the inhale, and as we exhale, pushing all the way up through the heels, standing up nice and tall, keeping our posture nice and neutral, and breathing through. So we exhale up, inhale down. Now if you prefer not to do it on a step, I would have my back towards the wall, do exactly the same thing. I am doing this on the top of the step, but this would be the same as doing it on the ground and just lifting up. Now you can change the exercise by changing the posture of your feet. You can turn your heels in and your feet out. Likewise, you can do exactly the same thing on the step. You can also do a pigeon toe stance. And as with most of these exercises, you can increase the intensity by adding some weight. These are really good to do on the Smith machine, which is that piece of equipment near the big dumbbell rack that sits against the mirror in the corner of the gym. There is a little calf raise machine that you can use to do that, a little calf raise step rather. So you want to aim between 10 and 15 of these guys, and you should feel that pretty quickly when we're working through our calves. As we get towards the end of the workout, we are just going to do one more lower body exercise, and I call this the B stance body weight deadlift. So when people do deadlifts, a lot of the time we have our feet parallel to each other, and power lifters, this is a typical a typical deadlift stance. Okay, working through the hamstrings. But for this particular variation of it, because we're not using any weight in particular, it is sometimes a bit more beneficial to just break the exercise up and doing it mainly on one of the legs. So we do a thing called a B stance, which is going from the standard stance and just taking one foot back behind where it was. And this allows us to focus and put a little bit more weight on that front leg. So the idea of this particular movement is the hip hinge. So it's all about moving from the hip. You should feel that nice stretch at the bottom of the exercise down the back of the hamstring. So we're going to try not to stick our butt out. I always like to put my hands behind my back. And if anybody's ever watched The Simpsons, there is an episode where Homer employs like this bird, one of those little drinking birds that tips up and down to do his work at the nuclear power plant. This is very reminiscent of what that looks like, that motion. So you should definitely feel that working down the back of the leg that's in the front. So this is the front leg. And you want to focus on having symmetry in your hips. Shoulders continue to draw down and back, nice long neck. And then obviously we're going to swap sides at some point. I would aim for 10 to 15. Now if you want to increase the intensity of this exercise, you can use a weight. One hand, two hands, whatever works for you. But really focus on keeping that posture on point. If you start to get lazy with your abdominal control, you will start to feel it in your lumbar spine, which is just down here. So if you're starting to get pain in your lumbar spine, probably need to focus on having a bit more ab control. That's where Pilates can be useful. So if you're not using a weight, hands behind your back, just helps to put them somewhere. Otherwise, you look like a bit of a gorilla. And we want to focus on doing the same number of reps on each leg. Well done. Nearly there, guys. For our last exercise, we'll be doing it on the mat. And these are shoulder taps. Really great exercise for finishing off your workout because it requires all your different elements of strength. So this is a front exercise on our front body. So in the prone position. So for this particular exercise, there are 3 variations of doing it. The first one, which is the hardest one, is always out on our toes in a high plank position. And all we're going to simply do is tap opposing shoulders with the hand. Try not to rock our body around. The focus is on to keep the body as stable as possible. If that's too challenging, set your hands up underneath your shoulders, draw your shoulders down and back, and do it on your knees. It's nice and slow and controlled. And if that's really still challenging, guys, you can do it. Just here, it isn't anywhere near as effective. So you just want to test your limits and see what you can handle, but it's still an exercise nonetheless. So focus on control, stability, support, and strength here. So ideally you want to aim for about 10 taps per side, so that's 20 taps in total, wherever you're at. And guys, that brings us to the end of our Bodyweight masks on workout. I hope that you learned something new today, or maybe were reminded of another type of exercise that you can do. It isn't the end of the world, guys. Masks are just something that's temporary. Absolutely no excuses for you not to hit your goals this year. It is 2021. Masks are just part of that process. You have probably done harder things than that. Thanks for hanging out, guys. My name is Loz. I'm one of the PTs here, as well as the Pilates instructor, and I take the booty camp class. Any questions on any of those exercises, hit me up. You can find me on Facebook. It is at Loz Antonenko. You say it and spell it the same way. I hope that you learned something, and ciao for now.